Hey, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2 or PF2. I love PF2. And as a longtime player of D&D, I want to share with you what I find along the way and hopefully share it with you in a way that is easy to digest and fun. Today we're going to be talking about archetypes, again, out of the Advanced Player's Guide. We're getting to the end of it and we can move on to all the other ones. Before we do, if you have any specific requests for archetypes, let me know in the comments. So today we're going to be covering the Ritualist, the Scout, the Scroll Trickster, and the Scrounger. Let's get started. Starting with the Ritualist. I already did a video on the Ritualist, and my favorite rituals and how rituals work. I do quite like the Ritualist, but only for rituals, because it's the Ritualist, that's what they do. Anyway, you can check out the video. Please do. It was really cool. I mean, the subject was cool and it was fun. I'm not saying like I'm really cool or anything. Okay, anyway, Scout. The Scout dedication feat is 2nd level, like most of them. Trained in stealth and survival are required. The dedication gives you the Scout's Warning Ranger feat. And when you're using the Scout exploration activity, you grant your allies a +2 circumstance bonus to their initiative rolls instead of a +1 circumstance bonus. It's basically just adding the bonus of the Scout's Warning Ranger feat and the Scout exploration activity together, so you get +2 instead of +1. Alright, it's a minor benefit, but if you're going to be scouting, it's kind of perfect. Scout's Charge, 4th level feat. It's a 2-action activity. It's a flourish, so you can only do one flourish per round. You meander around unpredictably and then ambush your opponents without warning. You choose an enemy, you stride, feint against them, and then strike. So it's a combining of activities into 2 instead of 3. For the feint, though, this is unique to the Scout. You can roll stealth instead of deception because you use the terrain around you to catch your foe off guard. Like, I'm picturing this like you jump off a wall or something as you're moving toward them. Using terrain, it says, I don't know. Anyway, it's a good feat. It's useful. Like, even if you're not choosing to be as scouty as possible with all of the feats, that's just a good one that's useful in general if you're going to be feinting. Terrain Scout, level 4 feat. You gain the Terrain Stalker skill feat twice, choosing a different terrain each time. I'll get to that in a moment. If you avoid notice while exploring and any allies use Follow the Expert to follow you as you do so, you can choose one of those allies to gain the benefit of any one Terrain Stalker feat you have. Now I'll go to the Terrain Stalker feat. The things that you can choose from are rubble, snow, or underbrush. While you're undetected by all non-allies in that type of terrain, you can sneak without attempting a stealth check as long as you move no more than 5 feet and do not move within 10 feet of an enemy at any point during your movement. So you can sneak around without having to roll. This also allows you to automatically approach creatures to within 15 feet while avoiding notice during exploration as long as they aren't actively searching or on guard. This totally makes you feel like a scout. And it's great that you can give this benefit to non-scouts in your group. You can just, like, sneak around with your fighter in chainmail. It's a good feat. Fleeting Shadow. 2-action activity. It's a flourish, so you can only do 1 flourish per round. Level 6 feat. You're able to quickly disappear and then move about stealthily. You hide, then sneak twice. Each of those normally takes an action. This is a 2-action activity to do 3 things. It's another great consolidation of your actions. Having 2 of these, and actually 3 of these, consolidating multiple actions into fewer actions and doing the same thing, is great to have in one single archetype. This makes really good efficiency of your actions. Scout Speed, level 6 feat. You move faster, especially when traveling, allowing you to scout ahead and report back without slowing your allies. You get a 10-foot bonus to movement speed. It increases to +20 while you're traveling. The traveling bonus usually doesn't matter because you still have to move at the lowest speed in the group. Man, I hate dwarves for that. But the +10-foot status bonus to speed 4 feet, I think that's worth it. Especially because you're going to be like running ahead to scout and coming back. Scout's Pounce, level 10 feat. 2-action, flourish. If you are hidden from or undetected by all of your opponents and you aren't within 10 feet of any enemy, you get to stride up to your speed and then strike twice. It only takes 2 actions to do 3 things. Again, This is cool. Your multiple attack penalty applies to both of the attacks normally. If you were hidden when you started this, your foe is flat-footed against both of your attacks. This is so great for a rogue. Now that's all of the feats and skill feats that are in the Advanced Player's Guide for the Archetype, but there are a few other sources that have additional feats for the Scout. Eclipsed Vitality. It's a level 4 feat. It's from the Knights of Last Wall book, and you have to be a master in stealth to take it. If you are not in the Knights of Last Wall, then this is uncommon for you. You shroud yourself in ashes that hide the vital essence sought by life-sensing undead. You're always taking precautions when avoiding notice, hiding, and sneaking to foil life sense, and you're concealed to any creature using only precise life sense to observe you. This allows you to hide really well against not just undead, but anybody who uses life sense. There are a couple of demons that do it. Maybe others too, just don't know about them. This is the same thing as getting a level 7 skill feat, Foil Senses, but only for life sense. Essentially, it allows you to trick life sense. Otherwise, it's extremely difficult to do so, and you usually can't. So this is a very useful feat from the Knights of Last Wall. It could happen. Rebels Map is a free action activity, level 4 feat. It's from Firebrands. The short version is, when you roll initiative, you roll a d20. At any point during that combat, you can substitute the result of this roll instead of rolling a d20 on one deception check to create a diversion or on one stealth check to hide. It's sort of like the scene in movies that you see when people are trying to distract their enemy in the middle of combat because they know their surroundings, because they've been through it before. Like, you're actually using your surroundings to your advantage. Like you're forcing them down hallways or upstairs or something like that. It says, rebellions require an intricate knowledge of one's surroundings, because you might need to escape at any moment. You remember the locations of escape routes, ambush spots, and cover from a scouting expedition or a previous visit to the area. Level 12, you get Camouflage as an option for a feat. It's normally a 10th level feat for Rangers. You alter your appearance to blend into the wilderness. In natural terrain, you can sneak even if you're observed, which normally you can't. Granted, you have to wait a while to get to it. But this is great, and so is this archetype. The Scout is a perfect example of a good archetype. It does what it sets out to do extremely well. And I love that there are 3 abilities that save you actions in combat. It's just a great archetype. Mostly for rogues, but that's primarily because it uses feint and sneaking a lot. Other people can benefit from it as well, they just wouldn't get the sneak attack that rogues would get. Note, I think you have learned how to be in my way. Mm-hmm. You got a little schmutz on your face there. No, you let your mother do this. I gotta clean your face. What would the little girl say? No, you gotta let your mother do this. It's good for you. That's right. I just realized that was recording. Scroll Trickster. I like this idea for an archetype. I also think it'd be fun if it had some weird sort of prerequisite. It only requires trained in arcana, nature, occultism, or religion, but like in 3.5 D&D, there was a prestige class called Candlecaster, I think it was, and it required that you had, I think it was 100 tinder twigs before you can take the class. So I think this should like require that you have like 100 pieces of paper. Magic has long been written down, and in myriad forms. From the classic rolled parchment to strings tied with 100 intricate knots. From baked clay tablets covered with incisions to bound collections of bamboo slips, magic is everywhere. You just need to know how to read it. Scroll Trickster Dedication, level 2 feat, gives you the Trick Magic Item feat, and you get +2 circumstance bonus to skill checks to trick scrolls. If you roll a critical failure to trick a magic item that's a scroll, you get a failure instead. So this just allows you to start using magical scrolls from any tradition that you have the trained skill for. Basic scroll cache, level 6 feet. Each day during your daily preparations, you can create a single temporary scroll containing a first level spell. The spell must be a common spell from the Core Rulebook, or another spell you learn via Learn a Spell, or just one that your GM gives you access to. And it must come from a tradition in which you have the corresponding skill trained. Basic scroll cache, level 6 feet. It allows you to, once per day, you can temporarily create a scroll containing a first level spell that you have access to from Learn a Spell or a common one from the Core Rulebook. And it must come from a tradition in which you have the corresponding skill trained. That's interesting. I would probably just train all of them, because if you're going to use scrolls, you don't know what scrolls you're going to find. And you don't know what scrolls you'll have access to buy. Although, maybe you could have allies in your group make scrolls. That'd be cool. That scroll that you make only lasts for that day, and at 8th level, you can add a second temporary scroll containing a second level spell. Skim Scroll, level 8 feet. It takes one action to do two things. You draw forth a scroll, and you use trick magic item on the scroll. So it just saves you time. Level 12, Expert Scroll Cache. It's the same thing as the earlier things. You can temporarily make a scroll that lasts just that day for 3rd level spell, and then at 14th level you can do it with a 4th level spell. At 16th level you can do it with a 5th level spell. 18th level feat, Master Scroll Cache, same thing. You can create a 6th level spell, and at 20th level you can create a 7th level spell. So the Scroll Trickster does what it sets out to do, and it does it appropriately well. I mean, I guess I would personally prefer that you don't have to roll anything to use the scrolls, that you just like use them. But the Thaumaturge does the same thing. I can't say better. I guess maybe a little bit better. Anyway, the Thaumaturge has feats at the same exact levels that do the same exact things, except the Scroll Trickster also has the feat that allows you to pull out the scroll and use it the same action, Skim Scroll. Thaumaturges don't have access to that. And also, Thaumaturges don't have to ever roll. So there's a give and take. I mean, if you're not going to be a Thaumaturge and you want to be able to use all the scrolls, you have to do this. But, like, if you are just at the beginning of your character and you know you want to be able to do this, probably look into Thaumaturge and consider that seriously. Because it's basically the same thing, and you're also a Thaumaturge. You can take something else for your archetype. Anyway, this is a good archetype, don't get me wrong. You just don't always need to take this if you want to do this. Scrounger. I need to read you the intro for this one. I love the concept. You have spent countless hours disassembling and rebuilding complex items to learn how they work, giving you the skill to create just about anything from the most unlikely materials. You're MacGyver. If anybody even knows what MacGyver is anymore. Okay, I'll just read you the rest of this. While your improvised items don't last long, they tend to be just what you need in a pinch, and your enemies find that while they might be able to disarm you, the real challenge is keeping you that way. Locked rooms, diabolical traps, and desperate situations are each their own sort of puzzle to you, and the mundane objects around you are the pieces you use to improvise your own solution. Like I said, I love the concept. This is great. I do want to say before I go forward, because I don't want to forget, that the most useful Scrounger is going to be an NPC, because the GM will know what the challenges are and how to bypass them, and can allow the Scrounger to make just the thing that's needed. That will make it kind of boring for player characters. So, it's a give and take. Think about it. Scrounger dedication at level 2. You have to be trained in crafting. You can craft items even without appropriate tools or a workshop. You take -2 penalty to the crafting checks. You don't need a physical formula book. You remember everything you learn. You can craft temporary items out of anything, anywhere, with whatever materials happen to be on hand, spending only 10 minutes to perform the initial crafting check. The temporary item must be common, non-magical, first level or lower, and must be a weapon, armor, or non-consumable piece of adventuring gear. You can also create ammunition with this. So that's all cool. At level 2, this is extremely useful, because you don't always have the money for things that you want, and you don't always have access to leave the adventure to get the things you want. and you don't have a bag of holding at this point, so you can't just like collect random crap and keep it with you. So at level 2, this archetype is great. It doesn't stay that way the whole time, in my opinion. There are more details to this, but it's mostly just limitations. So the temporary item lasts for 1d4 hours. You can create only the physical items, so you can't create anything magical or information, so you can't like take like leather scraps and make a book that is like a children's story, because you can't make the words on the page. If the GM says that you are using materials that really should not work for this, you can take up to a -10 penalty. But you can still do it no matter what materials you have. So you're like in the middle of a swamp and you make a flamethrower. Okay, maybe that's exaggerating a bit. You make a spear and all you had was algae. I don't really know how you do that, but you can explain that in very interesting ways. Level 4 feat, reverse engineering. It's a skill feat. That's cool. So you are better at taking apart items and learning how they work than other people. You get +2 circumstance bonus to crafting checks to reverse engineer a formula. Also, if you get a critical success from the crafting check, you can get the formula and you can put it back together too. So you have the original item and you know how to make it. Cool. That's also just good. Level 6 high quality Scrounger. It allows you to make items up to 3rd level. That doesn't actually include a lot more. You can instead craft it for someone else's use, allowing them to avoid taking the penalty for using a shoddy item when using it, but causing you to take the penalty for using a shoddy item. Because these are all shoddy items. Shoddy items, that's hard to say. Expert Disassembly, level 7 skill feat. You can use your knowledge of reverse engineering things to disable things. So you can use crafting instead of thievery to disable a device or pick a lock. That's handy. I mean, it's okay. For the most part, you don't really need that. Like, a sledgehammer probably works. Crowbar, fireball, a rogue, an archaeologist. High quality Scrounger, I have a little bit of an issue with, but it's sort of just like with the archetype in general. So once you get to a significant level of monetary abundance, so really by like 5th level when you can buy your own crap, the Scrounger starts losing some of its usefulness. So you'd probably want to train out of it unless you really need to have access to things and the adventure or the GM just isn't allowing you to get to town easily to buy more stuff. Because the archetype can only make things that you could just buy in a shop. I want to propose an alternative to the Scrounger. It's something that GMs often don't like. Prescient Planner. It's level 3 feat. Most of you probably know what I'm talking about. Essentially, you can only use this once since you were last able to buy stuff. So you can't really use it very often. But essentially, you take 1 minute rummaging through your backpack and come out with just what you need. And then you just deduct the amount of the cost. This is going to be the same function as the Scrounger in many situations. Maybe not perfectly always, but it's a general feat instead of archetype feats to get there, or class feats. And beyond that, you can also even take Prescient Consumable, which allows you to be better than the Scrounger because you can use it for consumable items, which the Scrounger just can't do. I'm not trying to say the Scrounger sucks, but it doesn't have usefulness, generally speaking, past a couple of levels. It doesn't have anything that it can create that is unique. It doesn't have anything that it can create that's magical. It can eventually create, like, cold iron and silver ammunition and weapons. Okay, that could be useful. Or you could just make sure that you bought some silver bolts or bullets or arrows. It does fulfill the fantasy of, if I'm left in a desert with only a stick and my clothing, I can survive. But does it need to? Like, there are other options. I mean, there's even magic in this world. There's lots that could be done with this. So I would also allow the Scrounger to do something like create a pet out of junk. You could use the stats for a wood golem. It's not very powerful, but it would be a fun little perk. You just put random crap together. Maybe you have to make a new golem every day. Fine. But then you have Junkie following you around, carrying stuff for you. It's a lot of flavor, it's a little bit of usefulness, and it's cool. Anyway, think about it. Let me know what you think about the Scrounger and not really having anything special you can make. You can just make a lot of little crappy things. This feels like it was really short today. Maybe it's because I enjoyed it. I don't know. But I want to say thank you to our lovely patron people. I release unique videos on Patreon, do giveaways, and we chat in our Patreon-only Discord. If you'd like to see if you might be interested in that, click on the link in the description to just go take a look and see. Our website has build walkthroughs and starter characters on PDFs that you can download as well. The link's in the description. If you want to make sure to catch the next video I make, hitting the subscribe button is a good way to bookmark the page so you can check back later and see what else I've done. Because I love my freaking builds. I mean, these archetypes, I like sharing my opinion, and frankly, I just like delving into the possibility. Endless worlds. But I love making a history, making a person, especially the psychology of it. Anyway, come back later and look at the builds. They're fun. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know what's good or bad about this stuff here. And feel free to leave a comment if I missed something, or if like you've made one of these archetypes, especially the Scrounger, and you'd like to share with the rest of us what you experienced or how you would improve it. I know that anybody can do homebrew, but I'm quite curious to see if there's anything that compares with the Scrounger in the system, or something else you can add to the Scrounger that maybe I haven't thought of. Like, maybe there is some adventuring gear that I just didn't know was adventuring gear, like a tank or something. I don't know. See, I don't know. So let me know what you think, because like, I want to get smarter. I need help. Thank you all for sticking with me and enjoying these videos, and I'm so excited that Paizo is paying attention to us. I'm looking forward to new videos coming out that they've asked me to do. It's gonna be fun. If you like the archetypes, there's a playlist for the archetypes. You can look at the archetypes, and if you like builds, they're dripping with flavor. That, and there's gonna be more out all the time, because there has to be.